Wisdom is its own reward. I love discovery. Absolutely love it. Been working on this one for days. Went into a deep, deep place, which is not a place at all. Probably call it an anti-place, trying to figure out this. I knew the answer had to be divinely simple, necessitatively. It must be, because natura naturans, or natural order, is divinely simple. Human beings complicate things, unfortunately. You ever seen, actually, the field diagram from the charged magnetic state of hydrogen? It looks like two toruses on top of a disk, which, of course, is a plane of inertia. You're actually, of course, looking at geomagnetic precession. Frequency, of course, is nothing other than another concept, just like wisdom is a concept to refer to self-proximity. Frequency, of course, is just a reference to capacitance. The higher the frequency, the higher the capacitance. Why is it the spatial footprint, the most dangerous EMR, i.e. gamma radiation, has such an incredibly small footprint? Human beings, of course, operate in a different universe than do fields. We're all still in the same universe. Larger things are bigger and heavier and have more power to do things like giant bulldozers, for example. Case of light, and of course this is not my opinion, this is an established fact, has been for a long time. Ultra-high energy light, i.e. gamma radiation, is an extremely small spatial footprint. The reason why it's so dangerous, and it's just super high energy light, is that it acts like quasi-matter. You're actually firing near atomic nuclei through human tissue, and of course this breaks up the DNA and it causes all sorts of damage. Yeah, remember when I've talked about countless times galactic jets, are also too called astrophysical jets, which of course emit out trillions and trillions of tons of hydrogen. Yeah, these super energy dynamos in the universe, and all atoms, whether it be gold or silver or oxygen or nitrogen, uranium, on and on, absolutely everything is just a compound modality expression of hydrogen. They actually follow a harmonic scale. One thing that you or I actually didn't see in high school or college, we saw a periodic table of the elements hanging in the science room, but what should have been hanging there is Walter Russell's table of the elements. There's a million images of that on the internet, by the way. You can certainly bring it up. But what if we were able to reduce everything, as Mother Nature necessitates, since she's just a hippie chick with muddy feet and hemp skirt and dreadlocks and hairy armpits, as I humorously call it, reduce everything like frequency, polarity, and precession and capacitance into something really simple and reconcile light and matter together. I made a prediction in a video years ago saying that ultra high energy light would spontaneously generate matter. That was actually discovered last year. You could look it up. It appeared on the science channels. They actually took the constructive interference between two super high lasers, and like lo and behold, exactly what I said and predicted in videos, and I have proof of that. I don't remember the title of the video, but I have a few videos like that, and they discovered that super high energy constructive light produced fundamental matter. Well, here it is, and I posted this in discussion. I posted this on Facebook and Instagram, and also too I have a link below. It's just a simple one-page PDF, my discovery, and been very elated about it, where P equals FC cubed, where P equals a fundamental particle, i.e. the proton, equals frequency C cubed. Very, very, very simple. What if it were the case, and it is the case, whether it be circular polarization or linear polarization of EMR, i.e. electromagnetic radiation, and most people, of course, don't even realize that radio energy, visible light, X-ray, gamma, infrared, all of that is exactly the same thing. Of course, Nikola Tesla said if we understood the universe in terms of frequency and vibration is the secret to the universe. That's not a precise quote, but it's nearly so precise. We would understand the secrets of the universe. And all these different things, whether it be radio or visible light or very, very dangerous gamma radiation, are only typified by the frequency. But frequency is only a statement as to the energy circuit, i.e. EMR, and light is just a coaxial energy circuit, which of course has transverse electrical magnetic phenomena. But what if it is the case, and I've said this in at least 1,000 videos, that the fundamental force vector, i.e. which is magnetism, is a three-dimensional S-curve, What the hell is a three-dimensional S-curve? You take a piece of wire, for example, bend it like the shape of S. You take each end of that wire that's shaped like an S and bend it inverse to one another. If you actually bend it perfectly, look at it end on, it actually makes a circle. This is a three-dimensional force vector, which is a single line of magnetic flux, which is loss of energy or inertia of the dielectric. Light is a cyclical coaxial energy circuit, which, in this transverse, whether linear or circular polarization, is a vector of magnetic flux. And of course we have corresponding rarefactions and compressions, which modern day so-called scientists, which are atomists, call the photon. Excuse me. This is the photon. Like light is like a necklace with little pearls strung along it, and those are little photons. You know, the smaller. And in the case of the so-called photon, which doesn't exist, this is just a misunderstanding of rarefaction and compressions of the dielectric circuit, or these ether perturbations, which is this coaxial circuit. Smaller the pearl, the higher, the more potent it is. Of course, Mother Nature works different. Smaller the space, the higher the capacitance. But in talking about this linear circular polarization, i.e. the vector of the transverse, and these are nothing other than repeating toroids. Now, it is true to kind of simplify light, because people don't understand a coaxial circuit. Most people don't know the cross-section of a coax. To think in terms of repeating toroids, or like a pearl on a necklace. You know, a pearl has a hole drilled through it and it's strung on a necklace. And a pearl with a hole through it is basically a toroid. So you have these repeating toroids. But this relatively low energy vector of this transverse electrical magnetic that makes up all EMR, and it increases with respect to time, the higher the capacitance it is, but it decreases with respect to its volume, the higher the capacitance it is. So we're looking at a single force vector of electrical and magnetic transverse force vector of the light circuit. But what would a complete circular bubble look like? And I'm trying to use a simple analogy to keep things simple. A simple circular bubble be? Well, when it reaches a certain capacitance, when we have a fundamental particle, hydrogen. All atoms, of course, are compounded hydrogen. P equals Fc cubed, where P was the proton, hydrogen, zero hysteresis, EMR, or the maximum capacitance of C cubed, of course, is a spherical frequency. What I'm actually calling a spherical frequency is a completion where we actually have zero time. Capacitance has been reached. You can't go any higher than that. Anything higher than that doesn't exist. Why do you think these super dynamos in the universe, and there are a few, the main one, and there are actual pictures, I'm not talking about artist renderings of galactic jets, where the center of these black holes of these spiral arm galaxies are emitting out trillions and trillions and trillions of tons of hydrogen. We can't actually have, to hold Occam's razor and to keep nature simple, we can't have matter over here and light over here. We can't be ignorant little children and have ice over here and water over here and steam over here. I mean, any human being, you know, has five brain cells. Knows that ice, water, and steam are one and the same thing. We have to do the same and be slightly more intelligent and reconcile light and matter. Ultra high capacitance light is fundamental matter. All atoms are compounds, of course, of hydrogen, and any scientist actually would agree with that. It's like, yeah, that's rational, and of course their own explanations from solar furnaces and compounding of elements from hydrogen to helium, on to gold, silver, nitrogen, uranium, and the rest of it. By the way, most lead in the earth is depleted uranium, for example. They have the same toxic properties like lead does as uranium, but that's getting on to another matter here. I'm so excited to have found this. I knew the answer had to be this simple. It must be extremely simplex. It must follow Occam's razor. And it has to be a simplex expression of frequency, polarity, precession, and capacitance. What you're fundamentally thinking about is one force vector of electromagnetism on this transverse circuit, which propagates. And since it propagates, it has a temporal component. However, light is not an emission. Nikola Tesla said that light is nothing other than a sound wave in the ether. Sound is not an emission. Of course, we all think it is because it has a speed, and light supposedly has a speed. We call this speed c. Yet everybody out there on this earth suffers the delusion, and please don't tell me you think you're smarter than Nikola Tesla or Eric Dollard or Oliver Heaviside or James Clerk. C is not a speed, it's the rate of induction or the hysteresis of the ether. When you introduce a temporal component, you have propagation of the medium. Sound is not an emission. I'm not emitting anything when I talk into this microphone. I'm creating a disturbance in the medium, i.e. the oxygen and nitrogen that makes up the air. Thinking about C properly necessitates that you understand that C is the hysteresis of the medium. This is the rate of induction at which this disturbance occurs. So where C is the ether induction rate or sub P hysteresis, and where time is expressed below, however not in the equation. So we have P equals Fc cubed. Couldn't be more simple than that. That's the reconciliation of light, of matter. It explains frequency, polarity, precession. Whoops, let me bring that up again. These dielectric vectors, of course, must complete termination without propagation or longitudinal perturbation, meaning the capacitance must be C or higher. C, or the speed of light, of course, is the frequency denotation of the energy capacitance. Below C, of course, it must be EMR. Above C, it has to be matter. But what is above C? Well, P equals Fc cubed. I don't know why, I've directed my mind towards this before, but, I kind of had this extremely lucid epiphany in thinking correctly about light and using retroduction to work my way back, such that if you understood light, if reconciliation of light and matter are one thing, which I've, been aware of now for years, then using retroduction and working my way back, then what is a transverse, whether it's circular or linear polarization, as to the coaxial nature of light? What then is this transverse? It is an incomplete or partial vector of spherical frequency. Spherical frequency, of course, would be fundamental matter. P plus the field of P, of course, is the atom. The field of P, of course, is geomagnetic precession. Also, too, geomagnetic precession, look it up, it's called Lamore frequency or geomagnetic precession. Atoms self-destruct, no atom is forever. Even ancient texts of the Vedas and the Upanishads, on and on, said that even though it lasts infinitely longer than us human beings do, it doesn't last. The self-destruction of atoms is due to the precessional lag of the geomagnetic precession, which is caused by the proton to precess its polarity. And this precessional lag is the reason why the atomic torus of the magnetic precession of this atom eventually self-destructs. Of course, it's in countless, endless millions of, I forget what the average hydrogen atoms assume to last. It's only speculative, but far, millions of years, I believe, something like that. But the self-destruction, of course, is the introduction of this geomagnetic lag, but it's not actually part of this page I'm just talking about here. But I wanted to talk about that also in making things really, really simple. So all EMR light has a temporal polarity below P, electromagnetic radiation, i.e. it has a cycle or frequency. Temporal polarity, of course, equals the frequency of C or EMR versus atomic polarity of P. So temporal polarity is frequency. That which we call frequency, of course, is capacitance, and this is temporal polarity, excuse me. I'm going to edit that out. Sorry about that. I said verity. I meant to say polarity. So this temporal polarity or frequency is, of course, of all EMR versus atomic polarity. This is simplex geomagnetic precession of any and all atoms, including fundamental atom, which is hydrogen. All atoms, of course, are compounded hydrogen. Ether hysteresis is 0 when the cycle F is equal to C cubed. P, of course, is ether temporal homeostasis of Fc cubed, a non-propagating polarization. An atom, of course, is polarized. All atoms are polarized. But this polarization is a spherical polarization. Keeping things simple, we'd be talking about a complete torus as opposed to a partial or very limited, depends on the frequency of the EMR. We're looking at, in the three-dimensional force vectors of any type of light, we're looking at a bundle of or singular force vectors of the loss of energy or inertia. The reason why the volume is so high of low energy light, like infrared or visible light or radio, is that the capacitance lost in force. The reason why the volume of gamma radiation, X radiation is so small is the capacitance is so high. This is the reason why gamma acts like quasi-matter. And gamma, every scientist, not my opinion by the way, this is a fact, every scientist basically on Earth will admit that gamma acts like quasi-matter. Why is gamma radiation so dangerous? It destroys your DNA, breaks it apart. Talking about the highest end spectrum of gamma. By the way, did you know that gamma has a wavelength of around 100 picometers? Look up what a picometer. And the atomic radius of hydrogen is 0.037 nanometers, or roughly 37 picometers. So gamma has a wavelength. And so far as the atomic radius measured in picometers and the wavelength of gamma, wavelength versus atomic radii, both measured in picometers, nearly so equivalent. So gamma has a wavelength of 100 picometers, and hydrogen, which is super high energy light, above that of gamma, is roughly 1/3 of that, 37 picometers. Just think about that for a second, by the way. 100 picometers on gamma, 37 picometers roughly on hydrogen. But every scientist agrees that gamma operates like quasi-matter. It destroys, it's like shooting little projectiles through our DNA. It destroys it, causes lymphoma, cancer, all sorts of horrific things. You know, that's not up for debate. The reason why it acts like quasi-matter is because it nearly so is. Not extremely close, but what if we were actually to take the frequency up to c cubed? Then we have a spherical frequency, which is the fundamental particle. Every scientist, by the way, not my opinion, fact, agrees that all free neutrons, look this up, don't take my word for it, all free neutrons become protons after 17 minutes. Adjusting my microphone there. So if all neutrons are just a proton modality, then what we call a neutron is an attributional state of a proton. Every expert in field theory, from Nikola Tesla, Eric Dollard, Steinmetz, Heaviside, said there's no such thing as an electron. The principle of electron does exist, and the discoverer of same, J.J. Thomson, said it was electron was just one unit of dielectric induction. This means keeping Mother Nature, the hairy armpit, muddy feet chick that she is, there's only one fundamental particle. And that fundamental particle is nothing other than super high energy light. And what is the most fundamental particle? Well, this is my discovery. It's copyright. You hate it all you want, agree, debate. I read every comment. P equals FC cubed. This reconciles light and matter. It makes frequency, polarity, precession, and capacitance of EMR extremely simple. When we're looking at transverse linear circular polarization, kind of hard to say, of EMR or light, we're looking at partial toroidal force vectors of an incomplete, what is an incomplete spherical frequency, i.e. a fundamental particle? An incomplete spherical frequency would be any form of EMR, all the way from radio, all the way up to gamma. Oh my God, that makes things really simple. My discovery, by the way. By the way, if you break the sound barrier, you'll hear a sonic boom, right? You ever heard that? I had the Concorde fly over me once ages ago when the Concorde was still flying. You hear a sonic boom. This is what happens when you break the sound barrier. Of course, sound's not an emission. Light isn't an emission either. The so-called C, or the speed of light, is the rate of induction or hysteresis of the ether, which I've already said 1,000 times. If you break the light barrier, you actually get a photonic boom. It happens. You can actually Google it. It's called Chartnikov radiation. It's blue light and several magnitudes above that. A spherical light boom, just like a sonic boom where you actually go above, that sonic boom, except in the case of light, several magnitudes above gamma, which is P FC cubed, is the boom where light becomes this. It becomes a spherical frequency. This is the reason why we see the most powerful engines in the entire universe, black holes, emitting out trillions and trillions and trillions of tons. Go Google the images. Type in astrophysical jets, type in galactic jets. Trillions and trillions and trillions of tons of hydrogen. And what is that hydrogen? It's nothing other than super high energy light. And given cosmic furnaces, where we actually combine hydrogen to form helium, helium, of course, stars burn out when they start creating iron. And iron gets compounded into everything else, gold, silver, uranium, on and on and on. I mean, no scientist, including myself, disagrees with this fact on the creation of more complex fundamental elements. But this makes it really simple. This is my discovery. It reconciles light and matter. It makes the universe and Mother Nature, i.e. Natura naturans, divinely simple. Like holy crap kind of simple. Wisdom is its own reward. However, wisdom doesn't pay the bills. I'll edit that out of this video. Any donation is always warmly welcome. The link for this page is down below for download. I'm very proud of this. Even if I never made a video about this, I'd be walking around on cloud 9, floating on a cloud to understand and simplify nature this way. It reconciles things. You don't have the ice, water, and steam garbage anymore when it comes to light and matter and frequency and polarity and precession and capacitance. When you understand what light fundamentally is an incomplete spherical frequency, which is fundamental matter, i.e. anything that's gamma or less, in capacitance, because frequency is just a measure of capacitance, it makes things so simple. I hope you liked this video. I hope it cleared things up. The discovery of which, I go to a place that's not a place, that kind of sounds like a riddle wrapped inside of an enigma, so on and so forth. But I go seeking the truth, and I really do seek it only for that ends. And it elates me. I love it. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Pure discovery and understanding is, it's elevating in a way that's inexpressible. I hope you like it. The link is below. Hope you have a lovely week. Lux Veritas. Goodbye.